Hello friend, it's Jayma here. Today I'm scrapbooking some outdoor photos and I'm finally using this Weekend Adventures paper pack. I actually have the scrapbook kit. I'll bring in more of it as we go. I've been dying to use this, but I've been kind of stuck on the florals and the celebratory sips, and I've just had great fun with all of the scrapbooking kits that just came out actually. So this was Father's Day just a couple of weeks ago. So it was fresh in my mind. We had lots of fun, so I wanted to document it with this pack. So my daughter didn't want to get in the family photos, so just my husband, me, and my son. But she did pose for a photo of herself. And then we had gorgeous views, but we saw a deer. Do you see that deer right there? There were actually two, but one was kind of hidden in the brush. I tried to zoom in as much as I could. I might do like an arrow pointing to it or something because it's hard to see if it's not pointed out to you, but gorgeous, gorgeous views. The photos just really don't capture how gorgeous it was. It was really, really hot though. I think it was like 90, somewhere around 90 degrees. So after our hike, we went paddleboarding. Horsetooth Lake or Horsetooth Reservoir here in Colorado. It's up kind of by Fort Collins and Loveland, and it was our first time there and it was great. We found this kind of beachy spot in the shade. Went out, you can swim there too. So this was my husband and my son, and my dog is obsessed with my husband. So as soon as my husband went out, he's like, I want to go after you. He was on like a 30-foot rope or lead. So he got to go out for a little while and then stopped and came back. So there's sort of a progression of photos. They're actually backwards here. So them going out, and then the dog tried to follow them, and then he got to as far as he could go. So this is him coming back, and he's just so cute with his little head poking up there. And then this is when they started coming back and the dog went out again. And then my son hopped off to go and meet him. He had great fun just swimming in the water too. It's a really good time. And then on our hike, we saw lots of other fun little critters. Like we saw several of these little lizards, and it was bright blue with green stripes. I had never seen a lizard like that before. It was really cool. I couldn't get a good shot because they were really, really fast. This was actually, I was shocked that this guy stayed long enough for me to get a picture. And then lots of pretty purple wildflowers, and saw a little ladybug, so got a shot of that. So I printed these, real small because they're not a focus of the day, but it was just fun. And so I found a spot that I could put them on the sketch I'm planning to use. And then my husband and then we hiked to a little waterfall. It was actually a little underwhelming. I thought it would be a bigger waterfall. This is all it was. It was a little trickle down here, but it was a good hike nonetheless. So I'm actually using a sketch for these, and this is a sketch that I created and provided to my team and to my customers in my customer group. So if you have purchased from me and you're not in my customer group, let me know. But this is the sketch challenge, and there is a drawing for $20 in Stampin Up credit, whether you're on my team or in my customer group. So I do this almost every month as to show my appreciation to you. So I thought I would use that for this layout because my photos fit it quite well. I create my sketches in Cricut Design Space, and I just had fun playing around. I didn't really know the direction I was going. I kind of felt like doing diagonal lines because I had seen a couple of layouts like that lately. My friend Janice did one lately. So I kind of started in that direction, but then just added to it. And I really like how this turned out. So I was excited to play with this particular sketch. So I want to figure out which papers I'm going to use where. So my main papers are this diagonal one, so I'll use the same piece for both of those. We've got kind of our background sort of matte area right here, and then we have the background page, which I typically do white. I don't know, I might do like maybe a light wood grain, I don't know. And then we also have a second larger mat on these photos, and I'm envisioning that that's going to be whatever paper I use right here, so that it's kind of pulled over across the whole layout. If I use that paper only right here, then it's kind of just stuck in the middle of the layout, and I want to pull it out to the sides. You don't have to. You can bring in little elements of this paper in other ways too, like maybe this is cardstock and you're going to bring it in your embellishments, or you can layer some pieces back behind here and behind here. That's always a good way to bring in a patterned paper, especially a busy patterned paper, is just cut a small piece and just kind of tuck it behind your photos just for an added little layer. I love doing that. So I could do that too. So let's decide which papers are going to go where. And I'll let me get these out of the way actually and put my photos out. Okay, so we've got the two 4x6s over on the side. And then the sketch calls for journaling under this one, but I'm going to do my journaling in a flip flap. So these guys are going to go under here where the journaling would go. And I did cut these, I think I cut them just a hair smaller than 2x2. But this one I cut as a 4x4 or printed as a 4x4, and then I trimmed it down to 4x3.5, I think it is. But when I printed it, I collaged it. So this was a 4x4, and then these were 2x2s down at the bottom. So I got all of those on one print. And I have lots of videos showing how I do that, how I collage photos and print them. I have a playlist with several videos, so I'll leave that down below if you're interested. One of the things I'm going to do with this sketch is these center areas right here, it's really easy to change up the photos, the orientations, the sizes, and all of that you're going to use. So I've printed mostly 3x4, or I guess 4x3 landscape, and so that's what I'm going to use. I think these two are going to go together in a flip flap. I think I want this one with a deer on top. So this one will get glued down to the page. And then when you lift this up, I'll have my journaling there. So that's going to be my journaling spot. So this is the flip flap. And if you haven't seen these, they come in 3x3. This is a 3x4, 4x4, and 4x6. I use these a lot. It's a great way to get extra photos and or journaling in the real estate of one photo spot. So I'll put that in there. This gets folded back. And when you're ready, you peel this off. This is super sticky. And it goes right on the page protector over the photo. So this will go on the page protector once I get it into the page protectors, and then you'll flip it up and you'll see the journaling and the other photo under there. So I'll set this one aside for now because I don't need it yet. I'll work with this one for actually gluing to the page. Actually, I think this will go over here because these are the hiking ones, and then the paddleboarding, I'll put it in the succession. So going out, kind of out there, the dog coming back, and the dog going back out as they come back. So as you can see, these don't fit exactly. I didn't want to cut this down more than 3.5 because I wanted this blue sky and the tree line to show up here, and I didn't want to cut too much of my daughter off. I guess I could cut this to 3. You know what? I might do that. Okay, so now we've got a true 4x3, but if yours couldn't be cropped, you can still leave it bigger. And the reason I had this one in the middle is because since it was a little bit taller, I could line these up at the top, I could line these up at the bottom, and then I could have just kind of centered these. So say this is 4 inches, you could have centered it, and then this could be centered and split the difference. So you have more space in between these, but at least, you know, it's even on each side. So I think that totally could have worked, but since I can crop it down, I'm going to. So we're gonna do something like this, and I think these ones are gonna be lined up at the bottom with this, and the title's gonna be up here. And then I think I wanna play around with some of my mountain and tree dies too, so I'll pull those out. But let's select our paper first. Okay, so I know I want to bring in green. I'm pretty sure I want to bring in green because I have a lot of green in my photos. I don't think I want it directly behind my photos. I could have it as my diagonal piece here. So the diagonal's cut to, I think it was 10 by 10, and then you cut it diagonally. So this piece will still be right side up, and it will be up in this corner, and this one will be in this corner. If you have like a sketch or you're designing your own layout where you're having a big triangle on this side and maybe on this side, Keep in mind that this piece that you cut off, you're gonna have to rotate and kind of rotate 90 degrees to fit here. So you don't want something that's directional like this, because this is gonna be ending up sideways. But since it's just gonna go straight up here, it doesn't have to rotate or anything, so I'm fine with the directional paper. I don't know that I like that right behind though. Maybe this could be my background sheet. And then I know I wanna bring in some wood grain. I think I want to bring in this dark wood grain because we have a lot of, well, not a lot of browns, but there is some brown in the mountains, on the trail, my daughter's shirt, the rocks here. So I don't want to use a ton of it, but I think that would be a good piece maybe to put these photos on. And those pop nicely. I can just give them a little white border. I don't think I need a second mat if I do that. And then maybe this could be my background. So let's just do that for now. So it gives us kind of an idea. So I did talk about using this to also mat, and I think, and it has a thick mat. So I think doing that will make it stand off of this enough. And then over on this side, this photo doesn't have as much green anyway, so it's not gonna just blend into the green like this side, although it might blend into the brown. But with the white border, I think it's gonna work out nicely. I'm not sold on this as my background, but I don't have to cut that down yet. So, but I do really like both of these. You know, let me just try this just to be sure. I don't think I want, yeah, I don't think I want more brown back there. I do like this for hiking though, but I feel like it's a little too busy for what I'm wanting. And then we have this one. I don't like that blue with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these down, and then we'll play with what I'm gonna use in my background. I wanted to show you how I'm cutting this piece because it's too large to put completely in my trimmer. But at 10 by 10, I can get it, it's overlapping, but I can get it to where I can see the track here and here. So what I'm gonna do is I've lined it up, and I'm gonna come down as far as I can and up as far as I can, and it's not gonna reach the whole thing, but I'm then going to take my scissors and cut to the corner. And I've done that with my long scissors because it's a little easier to line it up with my long scissors. And I think that's going to be close enough. It might not be absolutely perfect, but it looks pretty darn good. Another way you could do it is to use a mat, a self-healing mat, and a ruler, and line up your ruler from side to side, and then take a blade and cut it. And you'll go a few times real lightly. You don't want to press real hard with a craft knife, but you just want to go a few times until you've made it all the way through the paper. I just didn't feel like getting out my self-healing mat, so this way worked just fine. But if you have bigger than 10 by 10, that's not going to fit that way. So if you're cutting like a whole 12 by 12, you'll have to do it a different way. So that worked out well for me. I've already matted my photos, so let's go ahead and test out how this background is going to look. All right, well, here is how everything looks with this background. I actually really like this background. I think I'm going to keep that. Although there's a lot that is hidden behind here and behind here. So I'm gonna cut it down. I'm gonna mount everything onto white or a cardstock in a color that I really don't like or that's retired and I'm not gonna use because it's gonna be completely covered. And then that way I can cut off quite a bit of it over here and quite a bit of it that's gonna be hidden here. So we're just gonna have this portion showing, and I can get both sides out of one sheet of these papers and still have this one left over. I found a ton of this sea glass cardstock color, which is an older color of the year from close to my heart. And I had so much of it I'm never going to use. So that's going to be the background paper that I'm going to use. And it's so different from the papers that I'm using in my layout that I do have to be careful that I line everything up around the edges pretty well so that you don't see it around the edges. But I'm strategically cutting this background piece. I'm cutting it just a little bit bigger than what the background actually is so that it can sort of tuck under the other areas, those other papers that I have. It's a little bit tricky, kind of like a puzzle, but I got it here in the end, and you can see how it just nestles under there perfectly, and the papers overlap by about 1/8 of an inch or so, just to make sure I had enough. And I still have a whole other sheet of that lighter wood grain paper. Now on this right side, I didn't cut the little corner off of that triangle yet. I figure I'll get it glued down and then trim it to the edge just to make sure it lines up with that sea glass paper perfectly. I'm also inking all of the edges of these papers just to make sure that they pop a little bit more. I don't always do this, but it is a nice little finishing touch that I like to do, especially if I have a lot of contrast between my papers or need to add some contrast. It kind of just depends on the look that I want to give. On this paper here, I just need to do the bottom edge and the right edge. So the other edges are going to be tucked under the brown and the green pieces. So I'm going to get this bottom edge done, and then I'll slide it under and get it all in place, and then I'll trim off the little corner edge and then ink that once it's all glued down. All right, I've got everything glued down now, and I wanted to point out that typically this is what I normally do, and I did it in this case. I didn't put the adhesive all the way around. I just put it down the middle, just in case I want to tuck things under. I'm pretty sure I want to tuck some things at least under this photo, probably over here as well. I pulled out a couple of Stampin' die sets that I wanted to use. Well, this is a Stampin' die set. This is just a stamp set. I was considering this Adventure Starts Here for my title. It's pretty big. So this is the Weekend Adventures stamp set. It actually goes with this collection, and there are some nice little title options, some little subtitles. Gotta love the little scatter splatter piece. And then I love this, a little flowers that can go inside the mug, or the mug can be used on its own. These things fit on the mug, so that would be super cute for camping. But I was thinking just this title, and it's even light enough on the background to stamp it right on here. I'm not sure though, because I have another idea. I'm not sure they're going to work well together. And that is to use the die set from Scenic Adventure. So there's these awesome mountains here, and then the tree line border die. And so those are what I've used here. I actually had these ones all cut out from a previous project, so that was pretty awesome. I'm pretty sure this is close to my heart. It might be New England Ivy, but it's a pretty close match. It works pretty well. So I was thinking of having that maybe tucked under here. And trying to decide, I also left this edge kind of up because remember I had to slide this under, so I can slide that under there. I was trying to decide if I want to have it just end here or have it go all the way across. And I think it would work out to have it go all the way across because it kind of has a natural ending point stuck under here, and under here it might look a little funny if I just have it like this, since it's just one photo. If I had like a longer block, that would be cute. I think that would look good, but just this, I think that might be a little bit funny. So let's try that. And let me stick this back under here. And then I cut the mountains out of Kraft cardstock. I just had some scraps. So this only goes from here to here, so it's basically here to here. So what I did was I used a longer piece of cardstock, and then I just used my scissors to help trim it so that it goes a little bit further. That way you can stretch it a little bit further, and I can even have this slope a little bit more so it looks more natural. So it doesn't actually cut the end. So you have a little bit of leeway on how far out you want that to go. And then the nice thing about this smaller one too is you can kind of layer it like that. So let's, let me see, I think this larger one might be better up here. So let's stick that. I'll probably have to trim a little bit off the bottom, but have it kind of stick up like that. Just pretend it's stuck under there. I'll get it all done correctly when I go to glue it down. And then I'm not sure if I want this in the front of the trees. I think that looks kind of cool. And then since it's just a little one, it can end here at the edge, or if I want that at the back. And I'll have this come down further so you don't see the edge. I think these trees can kind of help camouflage where this isn't coming down all the way. Or I could cut a new piece that comes down a little bit further. But I think that would look good. If this is gone, I can maybe push it down a little bit more. And then I think I like this one in the front, like that. And then I'll add some stickers and stuff like that. I've got these trees too that could be tucked here. Can maybe play with that. And I would probably do a little bit of ink blending on here to give some differentiation. It would have been good if these were cut on the light side. Maybe I'll go back and cut some lighter ones. Since I already had these cut, I had cut them all on the dark side. But with the two-tone cardstock, you've got options. So it might be nice to have the contrast of this one. So I think I might go back and cut another one. But I was thinking of actually drawing this down here too. I have a couple of options. I could have it kind of tucked behind this photo and maybe even have it just at the edge of this one. But I'm feeling like to balance it out from up here and have it draw your eye across, I feel like having it down at the bottom might feel a little more balanced. So let's try that. So see how I can kind of camouflage this edge here with the other little mountain here. And then here's the other tree piece, and that goes all the way across. Could maybe even tilt this. So I'll trim it off at the bottom so it lines up at the bottom here, but you don't have to keep it necessarily straight, and I don't want to cover up my little ladybugs. So if I tilt it, you can't even tell that it's tilted, and it'll all even out at the bottom. So I think that actually might look really cute down there. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut another tree and commit to this, and then we'll add our stickers and die cuts. I pulled out two colors of inks here. We've got the Old Olive is the lighter one, and Mossy Meadow matches my cardstock better, but I'm thinking that since I did cut more on the lighter side, this Old Olive shows up just fine and gives the definition that I like on these trees, even on the darker colors. So I'm just gonna stick with the Old Olive, and that looks really, really good. I'm gonna do the trees as well. I ended up cutting a few of the larger trees, and then there's the smaller single trees as well. I cut a few of each on the lighter side. And see how much of a difference that makes? I really love inking my cardstock because it's a simple way to really add some detail to just plain cardstock. I'm inking the mountains as well with crumb cake. And keep in mind that with Kraft cardstock, it's more thirsty of a paper. It's not as dense as other papers. So it soaks up that color even more. So you need to make sure you add plenty of ink because it will dry back quite a bit. So I've got all of those in place, and I am just loving how this is looking. Now, obviously I can't fit that title up at the top anymore, and I didn't really like the idea of it on the pattern paper, so I turned to my Cricut and created a custom Cricut title, Father's Day Fun. I thought that was even more fitting anyway. I really love using Cricut titles because they can be so customized. And if you've never created a Cricut title before, I have a video showing you step by step exactly how to do it and how to cut it in Design Space, and I will link that video down below. Now, these are the stickers and the die cut pieces that came in the scrapbooking kit. And I'm pulling out all of the ones that I think I'm going to use. I don't end up using all of them, but we've got some wood grain pieces that match that wood grain paper I used. I wanted to pull in a little bit of blue just to have a little bit more color variation. There's so many neutrals and then the greens, and I thought that having a little bit of blue would help everything pop a little bit more and help draw your eye around the page. And I do have a lot of blue in my photos from the sky and the water, so I thought that that was a nice match. By the way, on my Cricut title, I did 2 offsets. Normally I only do 1, but I saw my friend Julie do a double offset recently, and I thought it looked so good, and I thought it would look good on this particular title. So I've got the Father's Day fun, and then I added an offset and then added another offset to that. So you can add multiple offsets to create those outlines, and I think that that looks really fun. So I'm just auditioning all of these pieces across the layout, and one of the things I keep in mind when I'm embellishing is that I want to balance the colors across the layout. So right now I have that blue piece over on the left, which I've moved, and it's going to end up over on the far right, but I want to make sure that these blue pieces are spread evenly around the page, especially since it's the only areas that have the blue. But I do it with the brown pieces, and then those pieces that have an off-white background, all of those pieces that represent the different colors, they all get spread evenly around the page because that does help draw your eye around the page and create a nice flow to the layout. So I mentioned in the beginning of this video that Father's Day was a couple of weeks ago, and now at the time of publishing this video, it's more like 3 or 4 weeks ago here in the US anyways. That's because I had to put this layout on hold for over a week, probably closer to 2 weeks, because our air conditioning went out and I could not work in my craft room. So this layout was sitting on my desk for over a week with the background papers done and the embellishing just waiting for me. We do finally have our air conditioning fixed, thank goodness, because we had a heat spell of it was close to 100. I think we were at 98 and 99 for a couple of days with no air conditioning. So we escaped to the mountains. So I have more photos to scrapbook in the mountains now. Went paddleboarding again and basically tried to just stay as cool as possible without air conditioning. So the really bad heat spell is over now, but I'm so thankful that we have air conditioning again. So anyways, I've found some other little pieces on the sticker sheet, that photo log that I was able to cut and use in a couple of different spots. And then I'm bringing in some more trees. These are some more from that die set. And I wanted them a little shorter, so I just trimmed off the bottom. And now I have some shorter trees. And then I have one more set of trees. Wasn't quite sure where to put them. I think I'll just tuck them right here, but I want them shorter than the ones that are over on the right side. So cutting the ends off of those as well, and we'll tuck them down a little bit further so they're not perfectly even. All right, now that we're done, I want to revisit this photo that's in the flip flap. I had mentioned adding an arrow, and I found a couple of wood grain arrows in my stash. This one I liked, but it was a little bit too long, so I'm just going to snip it shorter, and that is perfect. But I'm going to do a little inking treatment to that as well, because since it's a lighter Kraft color than all of the other mountains that I did in Kraft, I'm adding a little bit of crumb cake ink to that just to darken it up a little bit and help it to match the mountains better. I'll just add a little bit of glue to that and pop it right onto my flip flap. So now that deer is pointed out in the flip flap, and I think that looks really cute. It'll flip up and reveal the journaling, and love it. So let's pull this in for a closer look. There's a close-up look at the layered mountains and the trees, and I absolutely love it. I love creating layers on my layout, and this die set is such a fun way to do that. I love all of the stickers and die cuts that are in this Weekend Adventures kit as well. And if you see anything you have to have, all of the products I've used are linked down below for you. If you'd like to see still shots, I have those over on Instagram and Facebook, so those links are down below. And here's another video that YouTube thinks you'll like, so go ahead and click that, and I'll meet you over there. Bye!